Welcome to another episode of Distory with Kate and Kirk. My name is Kirk from walruscarp.com, and today we are going to be discussing the Tower of Terror's exit photo area. So we've now just gotten off of the attraction, and we are exiting off of our ride vehicles, and we're heading down to where the photo area is. There is a lot there. Most of the time you are staring up at the top at the monitors and checking in with your magic band to get your photo, but we are looking at all the details because there's a lot here. It's quite compact area, but it packs a big punch in terms of artifacts. So with me to discover and teach you about some of the artifacts within the Tower of Terror is Kate, the Disney Cicerone. Kate, yo!
Hey, yeah, there's way more than I even thought in this area. Like when I started to take photos and try to gather all of the information about it, I was like, this is involved. And that's why this entire episode is just about this like maintenance room that is behind the where you're previewing your photo from the ride. So without further ado, let's jump in because we got a lot to cover on this episode.
So much. We're
going to start out with the show info guide from 1999. I'm going to show you just a little bit of the storyboards here too in a moment. But the Imagineering description of this area as you exit the ride is this. It says, the service elevator doors slide open for the last time to reveal still another all-knowing bellhop. Do drop in again, the bellhop intones as he offers another knowing smile. I probably should have done that in character, but I'm not good at that. In on the deep, dark secret at last, guests make their shaky exit from the elevator and head down another service corridor to the first floor lobby, where a number of not-so-ghostly desk clerks are on hand to sell photographs of guests' gravity-defying journey through the Twilight Zone. We'll cover the photo desk next week, because we can't even get past what we're going to do today, but it's coming. I do have a little bit of a note about this hallway that you go in as you exit, about the music in the hallway. This is actually a note from our fellow Disney historian and collaborator on the series, Joshua from the E82 project, who specializes in Disney soundtracks. So thank you, Joshua, for contributing this bit of information. He says the unload area has a short 3-minute piece by Richard Bellis comprised of several Twilight Zone motifs that were originally written by the great Bernard Herrmann, who also composed the music for Psycho. So its iconic shower stabbing strings are actually in the unload arrangement for the Tower of Terror. So if you listen carefully, you can hear that in there, which is pretty neat. So I did actually hear it. I can't play it for you because of copyright issues, but it's yeah, exactly that. So I was funny because when he was saying this, I was like, I don't think I have ever heard music in that area. Have you, Kirk?
I feel like there's music there, but it's not as apparent as it is in the garden or the lobby. You really notice it there. I don't feel like I've ever, because you're just racing out of there. You're getting out of there. You're leaving the tower.
Excited and talking and like,
yeah, they're like, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. And then they're looking at their pictures and stuff. And nobody's paying attention to the music.
Right. And so that's what I said to Joshua. I was like, I don't think I've ever heard any of the music here. And he was like, well, the cast members hear it when they're waiting between the unload cycles and they hear it over and over again. And it's very short, which is kind of drives them crazy. But I think it's interesting. I'm like, okay, now I'm going to listen for the music next time I'm there. I bet if you lingered in the photo area after everybody has passed, you could probably hear it then. So anyway, moving back to the storyboards, which these are from Imagineering. This is the storyboards that tell you kind of the key frames of this attraction, how they map out the ride, the show of the ride. So this is frame 124. In scene 12 is unload. It says the ride vehicle indexes into an elevator compartment similar to the one in the load area and comes to a halt. The doors open and an operator assists the guests as they leave. Then frame 125 is just the doors opening a little bit more, and we just see another elevator straight across from us in this particular frame. And then frame 126 is scene 13, which I actually quite love.
Dun, 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 dun.
Is this exit merchandise display. So the hallway leading from the unload area takes guests past a storage lockup. Through the wire mesh doors, several TV monitors can be seen. Which isn't exactly what we see. I mean, we do see TV monitors, but they're up above and they're not like on the other side of the cage. So this looks a little bit different than what.
Obviously, I the one thing with this is just like thinking about process wise. If they were tucked in like that, you would have all these guests huddling for the same spot where now they can just look above and you don't have anybody obscuring your view.
That's true. Yeah. And then frame 127 is these monitors display the photographic images of the guests taken as the ride vehicle fell from the top of the tower. Now, if it's okay with you, Kirk, I would love to cover photos a little bit more next week, just because we have so much going on this week, because we're going to do the photo desk next week. Is that work?
That sounds lovely. Let's do that.
Okay, so
Park it.
We might not talk much about that right now, just because we have so many other things to talk about in this particular episode. Which our first stop is actually the bulletin board, which is to the right. It's not within the cage. It's actually just to the right of it, which has a whole bunch of different pinned messages, photos, kind of like, if guests were going to pin up things, or like it has some like mementos and whatnot.
Yeah, like notices and things.
Right. We're going to start on the left side. And one of the things that stands out the most to me, Kirk, is this one that says, remember your number, with like a woman's face. Do you have any idea what this is?
How about like the fact that she has no eyeballs? What's up with that?
I think her eyes are closed. At least I think so.
The only thing I could think of, right, is because I couldn't find anything that was directly related to this image. Like, this doesn't exist anywhere else. But it could be for like a cloakroom, or if people, like guests, were leaving something like belongings that they would have for them stored, you know, like kind of similar to that you would like a safe and whatnot, like, but remember your number, or like remember your ticket, or you know how like you would do like laundry and the dry cleaners would have, remember, no ticket, no laundry.
You know, a cloakroom would be a really interesting one. That's an interesting idea. Yeah. But it's weird that it's like under glass in this like bulletin board, and it's stuff's over it, which is
the only other thing that I can think of is if it does have anything to do with the switchboard, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Is it something to do with the numbers for that? I'm not really sure. Or like check-in, but there was no like time slot card, which I thought was interesting.
Well, Joshua says it's literally to tell guests to remember their photo number. So
see, remember your number.
Before they had magic bands connecting things. That makes sense.
Yeah, remember your number.
There's a note that's over it that I tried to read for the life of me, I could not figure out what in the world this said, just because it's so dusty and obscured. Did you have any luck with that, Kirk?
Yeah, it said something like, Kate, we really appreciate all your help on recovering all of this archival information about Tower of Terror, because we didn't think anybody would dive this deep. Signed, everyone. Yeah,
that's what it says. It's a note just to me, Kate, the Disney Cicerone.
It's crazy, dude. I can't believe you got in there.
It's pretty illegible, but the only thing I got from it was like delivery at 11:46 a.m. So it is a note that's talking about a delivery, and that's all I got for that. For this particular episode, there's an awful lot of stuff here, and if we go over every single item in detail, this episode would be like 6 hours long. So we're just going to pick some of our favorites. I'm going to brush over the rest just to kind of let you know they exist, but we're just going to move pretty quickly past them because for the sake of time. So
by the way, here's a little fun peek under the tent. Kate hates that. Kate hates the fact that we can't do everything, just to let you know. So she's doing it for you.
I do hate that. I am a completionist, and I absolutely hate it. And I'm like, but I have to do it. And that's where we're at.
Yeah, it's too much time.
So there is a photo of two girls to the right of that sign. And then underneath it, there is a photo of a car on the left-hand side. Kirk, do you want to talk about this one at all?
Yeah, let's talk about the car. So what we're looking at is a Model T, and I ended up finding some like really fun old advertisements because I always think it's kind of interesting to see like how much these things would have cost. That's, I don't know, just like a peek back into the time. So in the 30s, if you would have wanted to get a touring model, that's what this Model T is the touring model, it would have cost you $290. To put things in perspective, the average annual income was around $660 when these first came around. So they were not cheap by any stretch. This was definitely a luxury item, and you could tell based on the look and feel and texture of them. As you moved up in the realm, like the 4-door sedan, you would notice that there is extra upholstery. If you wanted balloon tires, it would cost an extra $25. Yeah, balloon tires. That's like fancy for like really smooth, like puffed out ones. And obviously, like we always like those white sidewall tires as well.
White walls.
Yeah, exactly. I was able to find, because this one, it very similarly, because it almost looks like it's the same photo, although that one has white wall tires in the tower. But this one is a convertible. This one was a manual retractable convertible, but they also had hardtop models of these. You will notice that eventually the hand crank ignition do go away on the Model Ts, and they end up having different styles that are more automatic, which is good.
There's also a note that is underneath the car that says, have a very new Ford Model T for sale. It runs great. 6 spare tires and almost enough spare parts for a complete engine rebuild. Will sell for $360. Please pay in silver coin. The Jorgensen family, room 371. So
that's pretty good. That's a good deal.
Yeah, good deal of Ford Model T. But my question, Kirk, is why in the world is a family selling a car who's staying at this hotel? What a weird thing to do.
This hotel's expensive, so this might not even be their only sole vehicle. They might have other vehicles. Maybe they just expanded their family and they needed to get a 3-row.
But are they living in this hotel? Like,
yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe they're locals. Maybe this is where they vacation. Maybe this is where their rental home is. Maybe this is a vacation area.
They're from 371.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, like maybe they travel out to this area enough to have a vehicle out there that they don't need anymore. But you're right. It is a great question. Why are they selling it? And why would the Imagineering team decide to sell a vehicle randomly versus just like putting time period vehicles there? I mean, I guess it's supposed to be like kind of like the old school Craigslist bulletin board. You know, a lot of supermarkets still have them where you can like pin up little announcements for the community, which I think is fun.
Right. Yeah. And I think that is what the vibe that they're going for here. Joshua says this is a Hollywood Tower Hotel employee bulletin board.
Oh, so this is not guest facing. This would be behind the scenes people that work at the Hollywood Tower Hotel. So these are people that work at the hotel. Therefore, hey, we're selling this car.
That makes more sense. The other thing we have is a Golden Gate Bridge postcard, which I actually did find the original one of this. It says 53 Golden Gate Bridge across Golden Gate from San Francisco to Marin County by night. This is a linen postcard. It was published by the Scenic View Card Company in San Francisco, California, and features a photograph by the J.K. Piggott Company. So that is James Kenneth Piggott, who's considered one of California's pioneer photographers. You can see what that looks like on the back here. He lived from 1857 to 1941, so he actually passed shortly after the tower closed. In 1914, James opened a photography business in San Francisco under the name J.K. Piggott Company. By 1920, his son Harold had joined the business, which is now focused on creating photo postcards, taking advantage of their current popularity at the time. During the next 2 decades, James was credited with taking some of the first photos of the Golden Gate Bridge and the San Francisco-Oakland Bay bridges. So you see these kind of historic photos of this. That was by the same person. So that's what that postcard is about. Probably because somebody visited San Francisco and is having it on display. There is a note on top of it that looks like it was torn from like a book, maybe. I don't know, Kirk, if you were able to read all of this. I only have like pieces of the words.
Okay. What's your pieces?
I think it says Amelia on a reef, and then it talks about being on a lonely reef with glory well behind us, before us naked grief, that we might something him, who in a dark hour, and something for God's power, and then it says Elsie Taylor at the bottom. And I looked up everything I could possibly find these phrases to try to figure out what this was, and I came up empty. This seems like some sort of poem.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's as far as I got with that. Moving on, there's also another photo with a note that talks about an English chess table for sale, and then it says dimensions 16.5 inches, and the Jacobean style, like and I think it says like $6.73 for sale.
Wait, what? How much is it?
$6.73 is like what
6-7.
Oh gosh, those of you who have kids or teenagers,
bane of my existence.
It's the worst. Okay, so other things we see is there's this like photo that has a microscope set on it. Did you see anything about this, Kirk?
On this picture, it says microscope set, and it looks like it's like a hobby set that you would get for like, it looks like a like a dad and their kid are staring over this microscope set. I was only able to find one that was similar to it. That was around the same time period. This is the Gilbert Microscope and Lab Set. Today's adventures in science will create tomorrow's America. Safety tested. Luckily, this microscope was safety tested. I don't know what would be dangerous about a microscope, but it's got the new group viewer. Now several people can view specimens at the same time with the Microtronic Illuminator plug-in light for viewing specimens. I mean, I don't know about you. I am so excited for all the specimens. This was like a metal container, which I thought was really fun. I was able to find other versions of this same exact one, this Gilbert one, and I think you're going to really like some of these pictures because this is like, it's so 1930s coded in the best way possible. How to use the Gilbert microscope. Gilbert Toys presents Adventures in Science, and it's like a little comic book.
They're staring at the Earth. Do you see that they're like on the moon?
They are on the moon with no space equipment at all. And they're staring back at the Earth, which has like atomic rings around it. Some of the specimens included in this Gilbert set are hay and zinc metal. Thank goodness you have hay in there. But then it has some of these great lines. Fun with the microscope, said no one ever. And fun with chemistry. And this guy has lightning bolts coming out of his head, so that's great. There are lots of different. It talks about like real shrimp eggs. Watch them hatch. They also have fish scales and lots of other specimens. And then last but not least, and I know you're gonna like this one, Kate, is the micro set. Discover new worlds under your eyes. Marvels of the invisible revealed through a microscope.
Nice.
Look at the things they picked. Dust on a shelf. Leg ear of a cricket. A jelly-like sea creature. And crystals of salt. So there you go. These kids look really enthralled by the dust on a shelf.
Who doesn't want to look at dust a little closer? Come on now.
All we are is dust on a shelf. And look, they have a little specimen jar as well in case you want to collect your own specimens for your microscope.
Wow.
Oh, look, you can probe the leg ear of the cricket if you want. Just in case. It's ridiculous.
It's awesome. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very, very fun. Did you have a microscope set when you were a kid?
I did. I feel like we all...
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I feel like you had to. It was
like, the parents are like, and I think I bought them for my kids. I think it's like a rite of passage. You have to have a microscope at some point.
It's like popular mechanics. I remember there was a company, it was called Edmund Scientific, and we bought a lot of like geeky stuff from that when I was a kid.
Yeah, same. So there's also a Western Union telegram that I was not able to read. There's also like a pink certificate in here. Also illegible. Then we see this photo, which I think might be a postcard. This really looks like a postcard to me of the 1939 New York World's Fair. We got to pause here for just a second because there's a little storytelling to go into this. So this would be a reference to that Twilight episode that we've talked about before that's also referenced upstairs on the concierge desk, where they see the 1939 World's Fair. This is the Odyssey of Flight 33, the flight that starts in 1961, but time travels in the air back to 1939. So they see what we're looking at here from outside the window, which is the Trilon and Perisphere, which are the main symbols for the fair. But we haven't really talked about this fair at all. I just want to mention a few things about it because it's really interesting and important in Disney history. So the idea that created this fair was created during the height of the Depression. Okay, so there's people coming out of the Great Depression who... It's been a rough time, okay? Like, people are having a hard time finding work, finding food. Like, it's not a great time. So the idea was, the world of tomorrow. That was the theme of the World's Fair in New York, which is a phrase that Disney actually did end up using when they created Disneyland. The original name of Tomorrowland was World of Tomorrow. So they borrowed that name from the World's Fair. You can see this here is in that great Herb Ryman aerial sketch of Disneyland that he did like over a weekend and all those kinds. We've heard that story before, but you can see a close-up zoomed in view of what Tomorrowland would look like. And I think it's really interesting here that they do have, this is a rocket in this thing. It's not a like Trilon like the other one, but there is a tall structure and then a circular structure next to it, which we see at this World's Fair. And you can also see what they describe it as World of Tomorrow here, very clearly on the kind of key at the bottom corner of the map. It's interesting because in this World's Fair, the planners were given permission to develop 1,200 acres in Queens on the site of a former ash dump. The government agencies, corporations, and civic groups and smaller organizations from around the world built pavilions and exhibitions, much like any other World's Fair that we've ever talked about. You can see here what the Trilon and Perisphere structures looked like. It was basically just a big spherical ball and then like a big, I don't know what you'd say, like not a triangle, but it's like a obelisk-esque kind of thing. It's not quite an obelisk, but it's close to it. In the Trilon and Perisphere, they actually housed a diorama called Democracity, I think is how you say that, which was a utopian city of the future, which might sound a little familiar to you.
Epcot.
They call it Epcot. We call it Epcot. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing. I was like, it could be very similar to Epcot. I actually did talk about this with Joshua since he's an Epcot expert. And he said they had pavilions for transportation, energy, agriculture, and even an illumination style fountain show that was engineered by the same man who worked on many engineering marvels for Disneyland when it opened. So it's essentially the first Epcot was the 1939 World's Fair. And the Perisphere definitely looks very similar to Spaceship Earth. So, and he did also mention to me that at one point Imagineering did have a concept for the millennial icon that would have been next to Spaceship Earth that would have been similar to the Trilon, but they decided to go in another direction. At one point they were going to make a direct reference to the 1939 World's Fair, and they just decided not to, which I thought was really interesting. The other place we see this referenced is actually on the workbench, which we'll get to a little bit later in this episode, but I wanted to point it out that on the right side of the workbench within this caged area, there is a tiny little souvenir of both the Trilon and the Perisphere sitting on that as well. So because this is 1939, it makes sense that people would just have visited the fair and brought back souvenirs from it and postcards and all the things. So it's just really time setting for the era that we're in as well.
If you have $95 and access to Etsy, you can have one of these little statues yourself.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. So you can have your own spire, your own Trilon and Perisphere for the World's Fair.
It was pretty impressive, the size of it. I mean, they were talking about how the escalator, because it was the largest escalator in the world to just enter the Perisphere because it was just so large of a structure.
Well, I love this photo of it, illuminated at night as well. It just is so beautiful with the water and everything. It reminds me so much of Epcot, quite honestly.
Yeah. They were saying the Trilon was 610 feet and the Perisphere had a diameter of 180 feet. And then there was a foot ramp called the Helicline that was 950 feet.
I just wanted to visit that just a little bit, just say what that is because it's so relevant to this and also Disney history in general. And we could do a huge deep dive into the 1939 World's Fair, but I think we better leave it now there because we have a lot to cover. We're moving over to the right side of the bulletin board now, which has a lot of business cards on it. There is a mineral saddle shoe shop number 2 that's in Kansas. And the bottom right corner says operated by Les Stewart and Curly Denman. I did look up some of these names to see if any of the names came from the Imagineers that worked on the project, and I came up empty on that. So I am not entirely sure where some of these names come from. I would a lot of them I tried to Google and see if I could find them, and I also came up empty. I don't know if you found any of them, Kirk. Any?
No, because just like anything else, as soon as you type in these places or names or attach Disney to it, it's all just random. It's not like actual people. It's just random organizational employees. Good luck on LinkedIn, kids.
Right, exactly. So there's a business card for Dr. P.Y. Chen, a dental surgeon for painless extractions, plate crown, bridge work, wood and porcelain inlays. There is a Board of Supervisors of Los Angeles County card with some art on it that could be it looks like some sort of structure on it. There's a card that says one handy. And that's all I could read on that, Kirk. Stop me if you have anything else.
I think he's a handyman, one handy.
Yeah, that's what I
like to do work at home. Mm-hmm.
There's a card for Hotel Hayward with C. Prescott Manager written on it, like handwritten on it.
My thoughts are that this would be like an adjacent hotel that if you ever needed anything or you got a rate, you would want to hit up the manager before you headed over there.
Yeah, that seems fair to me. This one was actually really fun. Did you see this seashell photo?
I did. I'm waiting to learn more.
So this is a vintage 1939 Life magazine Shell gas auto emblem that's from the Share the Road ad. So they had this whole campaign essentially about road rage. And so here it says, join the Share the Road Club, help rid the road of screwdrivers. Which is basically people who have a lot of road rage. So I found a similar ad to it from a 1939 magazine. It says your Shell dealer will attach the Share the Road emblem to your car, which is a seashell with like maritime flags on it. It basically says, show your colors. The flags in Mariner's Code mean I'm giving way. Your Shell dealer will attach the handsome, colorful, all metal emblem above your car license plate. No cost to you. It shows you're against screwdrivers for sharing the road. So essentially this is you saying like, I'm a nice driver.
I love that.
You put my seashell on my car.
If you put a seashell on your car with a bunch of maritime flags, you are not a screwdriver.
Right. Which is kind of random, but it's still pretty interesting. And right below it is also kind of like an insert from Life magazine. Like, those like little things that fall out when you shake magazines that want you to like subscribe or whatever. Like that's what it has. It's like, I think it's like a year subscription for $4.50. It's hard to say exactly, but.
Do you remember when you would get a magazine and it'd have like 8 of them? Like every 2 pages, there'd be an insert. You're like, oh my gosh, dude. Like I get it.
Yeah. I feel like they still are like that. It's really.
Really? I haven't gotten a magazine subscription in a long
my
time.
kids get them. So sometimes they're in them. I don't have them.
I think we get Ranger Rick. That's it.
Yeah. Then we have a really interesting cartoon that is up at the top. This is called Patsy and Her Problems cartoon. That's up for surprise for mother. And essentially it's a print advertisement disguised as a newspaper comic. So it's just an ad. That's all this is. It was written by Dorothy Urfer in 1938 for Procter & Gamble. So it says, how can I tell mommy what Mrs. Brown said? It says, I'll write her a birthday letter and tell her. Dear mommy, I heard Mrs. Brown say your hands look dishwashy. She said you should use ivory soap. So I got a big cake for your birthday to make your hands soft. With love, Patsy. My hands do look dreadful. I'll try ivory soap for dishes. Lots of women are talking about it. And then it says rough red hands. Like it's like her showing her hands are like scaly. This is 2 weeks later. Smooth hands now, mommy. If your hands are rough from using strong wash day soaps for dishes, change to pure ivory soap. It only costs about 1 cent a day, and ask for the large size. So that's what that ad is essentially. For some reason, somebody thought that would be a great thing to put up on this bulletin board was this ad for ivory soap.
Yo, can I tell you what's up with Mrs. Brown? What an absolute monster saying that in front of like somebody else's kid.
Like,
do you know your mother has rough red hands? It's despicable.
Oh, yeah. Mrs. Brown, yeah. She's like, I can't believe your mother's hands are dishwashy.
And the mom is so funny because she's just like, you're right. They do look dreadful.
Also weird is I would never think to use ivory soap for dishes. Like I always thought that as like a body soap and not a dish soap, because it leaves like a residue.
Well, I don't know. I think, yeah, I guess it's like if your hands are rough from using strong wash day soaps for dishes, change to pure ivory. Yeah, it's interesting.
But maybe they're talking about using it just in general. But it says like using.
No, it says change to it. Yeah, like you're supposed to like. Could you imagine using bar soap on your? Hang on, let me just.
Yeah. So an interesting ad is there.
Look at her hands while she's holding the letter. Her hands look ghastly, dude. They like purposely wrote like horrible lines and stuff on them. And then in the last one, look how happy the daughter is not having scaly red hands on her face.
She's like, thank you for touching me with your nice soft hands.
Thank you, Ivory. My mom was a grotesque monster before you came.
Oh gosh. Okay, moving on. We have a couple other things here. There is a photo of a plane on here. Kirk, did you have anything you want to share about this one?
I do have information on the plane. So this is a small advertisement for a Curtiss-Wright Travel Air 5000. It's an iconic American biplane from the late 1920s into the early 1930s. The text reads, "The leading senior plane of 1931, Curtiss-Wright Travel Air 5000." I don't know why somebody would put this up specifically for that, but the Travel Air 5000 was famous for its endurance and reliability. They used the early models for mail service and record-setting flights, like the race from California to Hawaii, which was the 1927 Dole Air race, which I thought was a little connection to Dole Whips and Dole Pineapples, which I thought was kind of cool. And then I also was able to find another advertising plane that just was retired in 2000. This is a 1928 Travel Air Model D&D used by Pepsi. And this one is particular because it was used for skywriting, and they actually placed this one in the Smithsonian. So if you actually go to the Smithsonian, you can see the Andy Stennis's performing skywriting airplane owned by Pepsi Cola. And I actually found a video of him skywriting, which I think is kind of fun because you actually get to see one of these. They called him Speed Wings. Can you take one guess, Kate, during these air shows that this gentleman, what do you think he wrote in the sky with his Pepsi plane? Da 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 da. Pepsi.
See,
how boring.
That is so boring.
But I mean, I guess he got to fly, so
you should write something cryptic and then like make people guess what it is.
Right.
Look behind you.
Cola rot your teeth. What? What is aspartame? I don't think he...
That would take a while to write.
Okay, we need to retire that plane. This is not going to work anymore.
Oh my gosh. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the card itself on here says the leading sports plane of 1932, Curtiss-Wright Travel Air Sport. So just read that.
Exciting.
And then we have something that says Hang Tai, which is silk merchants, draper store, and haberdashers. It says something in all kinds of silk, satin, silk, and crepe, which is not spelled the way we usually spell crepe these days. Ponji, handwork, embroidery, kimono, table cover, silk hose, cowhide trunks, mahjong sets, which is a throwback to the lobby.
Don't steal the tiles, Kate.
I'll try to control myself. Mandarin coats, and then it just talks about it's from in China. So that's there as well. And then there is an article with a photo of some people in a boat. And as far as I could tell, it says California holds fourth, and I think it's decathlon, but it's folded or cut off, so you can't tell. And it says Catalina to mainland in 1 hour and 27 minutes. And I tried to look up, like, is this somebody swimming? Swimming would take a lot longer than that. So it's not swimming. It's probably like a boat race is my guess.
Yeah.
That is as far as I could figure out, unless you found anything else for that, Kirk.
Mm-mm.
Okay. But now we've also, next to it is where we see this other car on this side. Do you want to share about that a little bit?
Yeah. So we had talked earlier about a Model T, right? But you notice the difference between the Model T that we saw on the left-hand side of this bulletin board and the one that we are seeing currently with Kate is that there's another row. You actually can see a lot more people there. That would be a 7-passenger vehicle. So it wouldn't be this specific Model T. Instead, it was probably something more aligned with a vehicle like this, which would have been one of the Touring or Phaeton body luxury series, which there were the Lincoln L series. This is a Packard 6. They also had the Pierce Aero Series 80 and 133, which these are gorgeous vehicles. I was able to find Christie's sells a lot of these because they're just so collectible, but these would usually be like sightseeing, or diplomats would use these types of vehicles. So if you wanted to take somebody on a little tiny jaunt around the city, which would make sense for California, and put the top down and rip it through the city.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. Wouldn't that be amazing to like drive through California with something like that?
Well, I mean, we did a open top tour bus when we did the Golden Gate and we saw Muir Woods, and I wanted to sit on the top, but we went in the summer, and I think Mark Twain was famous for saying the coldest winter I ever spent was a summer in San Francisco. San Francisco is cold even in August. It's freezing cold. And so we didn't even have jackets, and we went up on the top just for that section when we went over the Golden Gate. And I just have pictures of Mel and I like holding each other, like it's so bad. But we got to see the bridge, which was cool.
Yeah, we went there this past summer. We went to San Francisco, just Elliot and I, just for a weekend, and it was in the like 60s or lower. It was like really chilly, and I'm like, isn't it August? Like, what's happening here?
Yeah, it makes no sense. I don't understand what's going on.
Very, very cold. Mm-hmm. But I feel like with all this car talk, we've gone back to our Mr. Toad series since we did so many automobiles.
You know what's funny is like that's the first thing that you see is all vehicles that look like Mr. Toad.
Yeah, pretty much. So other things that we have here, there's a capital stock card. It says for $10,000. It says incorporated June 18th, 1859. Mrs. L.G. Richmond, superintendent. And then it says women set type, women run presses. So I don't know what that's about. Honestly, I have no idea what that is. I have no guesses. Below it is a business card with a light bulb drawing on it and like a whole bunch of handwritten stuff. It says it has an Alberton logo, and then it says Button Street. And it says the handwritten note was pretty illegible. I only could make out the word like conductor. So I got nothing for that either. There's also a like curled piece of paper that says the Central Light and Water. So then we see to the left, there is an antique bond certificate from the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad Company, which if you're a Disney history person, that already sounds familiar, because of course that is the same company that sponsored the Disneyland Railroad in 1955. So I have this really fantastic thing that I found that says the Santa Fe and Disneyland Railroad, and it says the highlight of your visit to Disneyland is a trip to the old-time trains of the Santa Fe and Disneyland Railroad. Exact 5/8 scale reproductions of early day Santa Fe trains operate over the 1 1/8 mile railway that completely encircles the park, all aboard. And so then it talks about points of interest on the Santa Fe and Disneyland Railroad, which is really interesting to see as a Disneyland historian. And then they also kind of show, it's like a booklet about it. So they show the different trains and how they're replicas of that. And then of course they're selling their trains and how comfortable it is to travel on them. Oh, and I also have the map of where the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad actually went. So you can go from San Francisco and it goes down to like Galveston, then it goes to Chicago, Kansas City, and everywhere kind of along the way. I do have kind of a bit of a story that is actually from my book, Glamour of Pixie Dust, Finding Our Hope in the Disney Story, which is available on Amazon and soon to be available on Audible as well as an audiobook. I'm still waiting for it to get approved, but I just thought I would just read a little small section from it that talks a little bit about this just for fun. So getting sponsors in the early days of Disney, before Disneyland opened, was no small feat. No one wanted to invest in something that was so unknown and uncertain, and most big sponsors didn't see the benefit of advertising at Disneyland. When C.V. Wood, who's pictured here in the center, when C.V. Wood asked the Santa Fe Railroad for $50,000 in exchange for a logo on the trains and water tower, travel posters in Main Street Station, and an office where people could purchase railroad tickets, they balked at the price. Up until that point, they had essentially advertised for free at other kiddie parks, supplying only the cost of that paint to install their logo. Every sponsor C.V. Wood, or Woody, to those who knew him, worked to secure fell through. Money was running out and the future of Disneyland hung in the balance. Luckily, Woody's friend Fred Schumacher had some connections left over from his time at the 1939 New York World's Fair. That was how they found themselves standing in the presidential suite of Swiss Packing Company in Chicago, giving a Hail Mary pitch to the company's president. Woody expounded upon the benefits of investing, emphasizing that people would associate their good feelings of being on vacation with their company's brand. The president listened, but eventually he'd had enough. He asked Woody and Fred to leave his office, which they did, dejected, but not totally so, because Woody had a trick up his sleeve. He had accidentally left his briefcase in the president's office, betting on the fact that the executive just needed time to ruminate on the possibility for a moment, but would eventually be intrigued enough to give in. Though the president was skeptical of his sudden reappearance and his story about the briefcase, he laughed about the incident and seemed to soften to Woody's ideas. He then agreed to an annual $110,000 lease to sponsor a restaurant in Disneyland, and that first big sponsorship kicked off numerous others, including the Santa Fe and Disneyland Railroad for $50,000, no less. So they did it.
Yeah, you just need one.
So C.V. Wood has kind of a questionable past and some questionable business practices, and that's why you hear about him now in Disney history for his notorious acts. And I did an episode of Distory about this long time ago, when I talked about some scandals in Disney history, in case you want to hear more about C.V. Wood. But I just thought I would share that, mainly because of the railroad connection there, here with the tower, which I think is pretty interesting.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So before we go on, I've just kind of talked a little bit about something that I did, which is this project with my book, Glimmer of Pixie Dust. But Kirk, what do you got going on over there at Walrus Carp?
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Oh, it's that time of year. I'm excited.
It is. Halloween's like right around the bend, but it's Christmas time when it comes to holiday merch. Our new collection will be dropping within the next 2 weeks. But I found a lot of people are new to Walrus Carp. You didn't even know that we made clothing. So if you head to walruscarp.com, you can find theme park clothes that don't stink. They're funny and they make you laugh and smile. So we put some of our greatest hits and bestsellers from last year. And we actually have a couple of our hats still in stock, but they're selling out pretty good. I think we only have 2 or 3 left of the blue. We only have 3 left of the blue, and we've got 5 left of the pink. And then they're going to be gone for a while. So get your holiday merch and look forward to the new collections dropping in 2 weeks, which means I got to make more clothes.
That's right. Can I just say that one, the Haunted Mansion one with Leota, is one of my absolute favorite shirts that I have.
Oh, yeah.
It's like my Christmas standard. It says Making Spirits Bright and has Madame Leota floating in it. And it's just, I love the design of it. It's just wonderful. And it's
fun. She's like an ornament. It's cute.
So that's one of my favorite Christmas shirts that I have of yours. I have a couple of them. I seem to collect them every year. It's like our Walrus Carp Christmas shirts is what we do.
You gotta get something every year that's that speaks to you. You know, that's always what's tough is trying to think of, all right, well, how do we reinvent certain things? But you know what's funny? I've been thinking about this. I don't have a tower shirt. I haven't done anything with the Haunted Mansion in years. I don't know why. It's just I've always been focused on the future, and sometimes I got to go back.
Yeah, well, I think
just because I did it doesn't mean that we can't. You know, our designs have changed a lot over the years, so this is a good time to go backwards for a little bit.
You should definitely do a tower shirt. That would be fun.
I have to do a tower shirt.
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to be about microscope sets, though, so very niche, very niche audience.
Molecules, yeah. Okay, so we're done with the bulletin board on the outside. Now we're going to actually head into this caged area, which has so much stuff in it. So we're gonna roll right into it. So we're gonna go to the right hand side first, and we see kind of a chair that looks like it could have been one of the older ones that we saw previously in the library. Remember how they switched out the chairs, Kirk? I really wonder, this one to me looks so similar to ones that they might have had up in the library, and then they reupholstered it and put it down here. But I don't know for sure. I might have to go back and just look at that a little bit more. But then we see next to it, just to give an overview of what's in this section, there's a desk with a bulletin board above it. There's a clock. And then way back in the corner, there's there's an operator's panel for the phones. And then there's another little desk with stuff on it and another bulletin board on the right hand side. So going to the desk first, it's mostly just scene setting. So we have an old dusty phone. That's probably an internal one for the hotel. I'm guessing it probably also calls out just right next to the operator's panel. There is an inbox maybe with some manuals. It looks like it's definitely a maintenance area down here. It's a lot of things, advertisements and whatnot for maintenance type of things. There's also an open notepad. There's photos of maybe the family of the person that works there is, it looks like you would put pictures of your kids and stuff on your desk and your wife or whatever. That's what it looks like there. There's a pencil cup with pencils. There's a really old stapler. And then there's a book, maybe an address book. And that's what's on the desk, and a lamp. So the message board has all kinds of things on it as well. There's an automobile insurance calendar on the left-hand side that depicts October 1939, which is, of course, when the tower closed. It was because it was hit by lightning in October 31st, 1939. So time stopped, essentially, just for storytelling in the tower. There's also something that says a vertical power pump. The stout little pump will pull a long suction lift and will render good service for a small investment. Made only in something capacity, like I think it's either 100 or 400 gallons per hour. It was really hard to tell. The stuff is really far away, so I did zoom in as much as I could, but it's hard to see. And then there is something from the Crucible Steel Company of America that looks like a chart. There's a flow control central valves. This says as easy to open as a gate valve. This is from Bells and Gossett Company, Chicago, and this is it. It's something that says the B and G on it. That's the one that you're looking at that has like the red and yellow. So that is for flow control for valves, which we've discussed in the boiler room. So we don't need to go over valves again. Thank goodness.
Gives you an idea who's sitting here, though.
It does, yeah. And what's interesting is there's a French map. So the thing that says like Europe Central up there is actually a French map. It's a collection of French maps that costs 1 franc 25. And it's Paris. I actually did see, so this is what it looks like up close, for those of you who really want to zoom in on this map. And I did find what it actually looks like on the inside. So if you unfold it, it's basically just a map of France. This one actually is a little bit later than the 1939 one, which you can definitely tell. I think the font there kind of gives that away that it's a later one. But I did find it online. This is a later edition. That's why the price went up a little bit on this. So, but I did find it online. Then there's also a photo of a baseball player. It was a pitcher. And so I did some investigation because I was like, who is this guy? It looks like it's the New York Yankees from what I could tell. And I think this is probably Monte Pearson. He pitched a brilliant near no-hitter in Game 2 of the 1939 World Series, which was held October 4th to 8th, 1939. So a couple of weeks before the tower stopped, essentially. So that would have been very timely. Somebody was very excited about the Yankees. He pitched this incredible game that everybody was talking about. And so they included, I think it's probably like from the newspaper or whatever.
Yeah, it's probably a clipping. There's no way he got like a photo of that done that quickly.
Right. So, and then they just put it up. So whoever's sitting here is a baseball fan and specifically Yankees. So I did find an article about it. His Yanks triumph 4-0 from that time period. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So basically all of this is just scene setting for who works at this desk, what they're interested in, what their work is, and all those kinds of things. Next to it is a switchboard. And Kirk, do you have anything you want to share about switchboards?
Yeah, let's get into it. It looks like a bunch of gobbledygook, but it's not. There's the spaghetti that you're looking at actually has a rhyme and reason. So what we're staring at is a manual telephone switchboard. And they were operated by human operators. On one end, there would be a jack or one phone line. Each subscriber, aka a hotel room, an office, or a home, would have a dedicated jack or a hole and an indicator light or a drop flag on the board. When someone picked up their receiver, bling, bling, their indicator activated, signaling the operator they wanted to make a call. The operator then would plug in a cord from their headset into the caller's socket and would ask, "Number, please," because they wanted to know where to actually place. And here's a diagram of what this looks like with the each one of the plugs and junction boxes all being labeled here. So if you're watching. The operator then took the second cord from that pair and plugged it into the jack of the person being called. So each cord pair, or called a cord circuit, handled one complete connection. One plug for the caller and one plug for the receiver. Once connected, the operator would flip a switch or a key to complete the electrical circuit, allowing the two parties to talk. While the call was in progress, a signal lamp or flag showed it was active. So you can see these ladies are working a switchboard with many lines on it. I was able to find a wall type magneto switchboard that they were selling. Some of them had capacities of 50 lines. Others, smaller ones, had 30 lines. It's very funny in here. It's really hard to read, but this was from Kellogg Switchboard and Supply Company out of Chicago. But the how to order just made me laugh so hard. When ordering or requesting a question on the number 7A switchboard, please furnish the following information: the number of lines to which equip at present with or without code alarm, type of operator's equipment to be furnished upended or Prex plate type something with headband receiver. I'm like, bro, that's how you have to order? Is you have to come up with all this nonsense and then call? Why not just call them and say, yo, I need 50 lines or 30 lines? No, you have to have all this furnished information. They don't make it easy for you to get switchboards.
It was complicated back in the day. Yeah.
Very complicated. You know, when you're in Disney, of course, the most famous switchboard of all would be the ones that you can find on Epcot's Spaceship Earth. So Spaceship Earth on the left-hand side is a bank of operators. What are you laughing at?
Spaceship Earth on my wall.
Oh, do you? Oh, perfect. I did find what I think you and I would look like as switchboard operators. You want to see, Kate? All right. First, this is how I think Kate would look like as a switchboard operator. Very organized, great posture, well manicured, nicely dressed, very proper.
Thank you.
Now, this is what I think I would look like. More loose and off the cuff and more kind of whipping wires around, you know? You know what's funny is like when you look at it, those like hands-free receivers are so wild to me because it looks like almost like a horn coming out of somebody's chest as they had these like hands-free. Which, have you ever seen people who have like hands-free cell phone holders for like recording videos? That's exactly what it reminds me of. Like super weird looking, but very funny.
Yeah, which is actually quite funny that you mentioned like this lady here, because I actually have some like rules that these women had to follow.
Oh my God, I love that.
So the operators were mainly women because women were valued not only because their gentle voice and nimble fingers, but they could also pay them lower wages. That's just the facts of how it was. So
it was like nice, and then that. It was like, oh, that's so sweet. Okay.
Yeah. An article in the American Telephone Journal of 1902 said the dulcet tones of the feminine voice seem to exercise a soothing and calming effect upon the masculine mind, subduing irritation and suggesting gentleness of speech and demeanor, thereby avoiding unnecessary friction. So, the dulcet tones of the female voice is why we had women who were phone operators at the time. And so, I have this really great ad that's like, this is for an ad for a telephone, and it's like, I'm glad you called. And they're like demonstrating how people use phones because it's like, it was so still kind of newish by this time, you know? So, and so this one says Athanasian's Call, and it's showing all of the women that are working, and then long distance is catching up too. So they're just like selling you on having a phone and communicating with people at this time. And then says, she always says please and thank you. So they're telling you how wonderful their phone operators are. And then this one's great because this one's actually a little bit later. This is during the war. And it says, she still has the voice with a smile. And that's how they advertise these women who were phone operators, is the voice with a smile. Number, please. So
they clearly have never called Dr. Nigel Channing's office. Dr. Nigel Channing's office, please hold. Dr. Nigel Channing's office, please hold. Dr. Channing's office, please hold.
She does not have dulcet tone.
Why is anybody calling him? See, they're like, how many numbers, bro? Have you ever thought that? I think of that every time. I go, who's calling this dude?
That's a good point. I don't know. That's true.
If you don't know what we're talking about, that's from Figment. In the queue line, Dr. Nigel Channing is the the head of the institute, and his secretary is taking 1 billion calls.
She's very busy. It's true.
She is.
So these women had very strict codes. They had a very strict dress code. They couldn't wear jewelry. Operators underwent elocution training to ensure their speech matched the company's desired image. Women with, this is just facts, so this is going to sound bad, but women with foreign accents were not hired. The iconic slogan, "The voice with a smile," reflected this emphasis on a cheerful tone. Also, spies sometimes monitored their calls on a device called a listening board to make sure they were doing their job properly. So there could be somebody spying in on what you're saying. And said they were also not allowed to speak even in a whisper to each other the 9 hours that they were on duty, much less smile. And to laugh out loud is the height of recklessness. So they were like really locked down as to their freedom. They were not allowed to chit chat. They were not allowed to have fun. And one operator even said she'd once been forced to work 10 extra hours without pay for one brief giggle, which sounds pretty illegal to me. Just saying.
Kate, you just caught yourself 10 extra hours. Oh, that's another 10. Oh, another 10. Keep it up, Missy.
I couldn't do it. Clearly, I would be working for free the entire year.
Yeah. I quit this job.
There was also an unwritten rule that the girls could not marry or they would lose their job if they did. So if you were going to be a phone operator, you were giving your life to being dedicated to this, and it was not a fun job necessarily. But you could listen in on people's conversations. So I guess if you really like gossip, that would...
It probably was awesome. It probably was wild.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because, people didn't have, Couth back then, so they knew all the dish on everybody. Because this would be local. It's not you know what I mean?
Party line is so you could listen
exactly,
in on
dude. This is like three-way, and you guys are back in middle school, and you're like, I want to find out how Stacy feels about me. All right, I'm going to call her. I'm going to call her. I'm going to three-way.
Listen in.
Hi, Stacy. Good to see you. Yeah, what do you think about Jan? I don't know why I'm coming up with these names. Jan, what do you think about Jan? Oh, Jan. And you'd be like, gotcha, Stacy. Jan's on the line.
Yeah. They still had party lines back when we were really young, and then they did away with them. You can't listen in anymore. It's not a thing. So, I mean, I'm sure you can if you want to, if you have a way.
Dude,
but...
you know what? I'm gonna just say it. Kids got it good. All right. Number one, you all use dating apps. You don't actually go to a place to meet somebody and have to do a cold open. No, that's number one. Number two, how about the fact that I had to, if I wanted to talk to a lady on her phone in middle or high school, I had to call the house line and talk to their parents 90% of the time and say, "Hi, is Jan there?"
Oh,
do you know how awkward that is? And they'd be like, Jan.
Yeah. Don't
Kurt's
be too
calling.
long. They'll tie up the line.
Don't be too long. Don't tie it up. They also don't know what it's like to pick up the home telephone and hear, and then have somebody go, I was downloading.
You know what's funny is I was listening to Lin-Manuel Miranda, and he was talking about a part of Hamilton that he wrote, and he said he actually used that dial-up tone as inspiration for a piece of the song that he was writing, because it meant connection to so many of us.
Oh,
which I thought was so cool, and it was connecting two pieces of the song, and it was also connection for us in terms of the story. It was really interesting. Anyway,
that was iconic. I don't know why they even had the tones, but
I know. Well, there's actually a whole theory behind exactly why they developed that specific pattern of how the dial-up sound. I watched it the other day and I was like, this is fascinating. But
that's interesting.
And a lot of it was totally unnecessary to have those sounds at all. But it actually, each sound depicted a different piece of the connection. And it was so that you knew it was actually connecting.
It was making a full connection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. I remember payphones would have certain tones when you would put in coinage. So different coins would have a different tone. And that's how it would know you were adding money to your call. So it was like an auditory tone, but on the receiver, you could hear it when you would put in a quarter or put in a dime.
Yeah. Oh, so interesting.
I'd like to make a call. Like to make a collect call. Who is speaking? I won't be home late. I swear I'll be home after 5 o'clock.
Pick me up at 3 and then laundromat.
Hey, dude, free calls.
Those were the days.
Dude, these kids have no idea. They're missing a whole lifetime of fun.
You had like the cord for your phone and you'd have to like pull it into the other room and the cord would like follow throughout the house to have.
Oh, yeah. The cordless phone was the greatest, dude, when that came out, that big old brick.
The battery would never survive though. It would it's like an hour.
You couldn't go
max.
long with it.
So
no.
Anyway, so that's the operator panel that we see in the corner. There's also in this very back corner, there's like a whole bunch of stack of dusty old books. And then there's like this like almost like file sorter. So I was trying to figure out what in the world is in these like file sorter in the back corner. So I asked Joshua because I was like, I can't tell what this is. And he actually says they're folders which contain old guest carried capacity reports from the Magic Kingdom, if he remembers correctly. He says that it's the number of guest counts per attraction. They're all done electronically now, but every attraction since the late 60s reports on how many guests went through the attraction on each given day, which we know with like turnstiles and, now they use like infrared beams to count guests coming through. So that's what's in that box. And I was like, I wonder if I could actually find one of these to see what guest capacity counts were. And I completely came up empty. But I did find this really interesting attraction ranking. This is from 1979 in Disneyland. And this shows the theoretical capacity of each ride in Disneyland in 1979 and then the operational capacity. I know, I thought it was really fun. And the top of the list.
Dick Nunes would be so happy reading this.
I know, right? Exactly. So the top of the list, the number one high capacity attraction is the People Mover in Disney.
And this is why, my friends, it has such a low line all the time. And that's why we love it.
Yep. And then it goes to Small World, America Sings, Pirates of the Caribbean, and America the Beautiful. And then it goes down from there. But the lowest capacity was the Fire Engine, the Horseless Carriage, and then Dumbo, Flying Elephants, and the Rocket Jets are also on there too. So no surprise.
Dude, the boat rides are such crushers. I never understood why, except for budgetary reasons, why Navi River Journey wasn't a pirate-sized boat.
Crazy. Why in the world?
It's 100% budget, or maybe that wouldn't be like on IP brands, but I'm telling you, that was such a miss.
Yeah, I agree. I think every time we get in there, and then like the last
that should be like I'm so bored. We can't get on anything. Let's go on the Navi thing because it's really pretty. That's all that should be.
I agree. There's a lot of things about that ride that I think are a bit of a miss, but it's pretty, but it could be more exciting. It could have better storytelling. That's just my 2 cents.
I'm okay with it if I just can get on it all the time. And there's no reason for it outside of, budget or IP.
Well, I'm not waiting an hour to ride that ride. It's not worth it.
No.
Passage, I would wait for an hour for that.
10 minutes. I got 10 minutes for Navi. That's the only amount of time that's appropriate for that.
I agree.
And now they stuff you with people. Like, it's impossible. Like, I can't go ride in my own row. So I'll sit with 3 other strangers, which I get it for capacity. But man, oh man, I'd rather have my own row.
Yeah, well, especially in Florida with all the sweaty people. Ugh.
Really, Kate? I don't know what you're talking about.
It's hot there. Okay, let's keep moving on. We got some more things to cover before we wrap up this episode. So there is a cork board that is in this back corner. Kirk, do you want to share anything about this cork board in particular?
No, there's like so many. It's like advertisement central.
Yeah, it's basically, it looks like the ads that they pulled out of things. Also potentially maybe a page from the Popular Mechanics magazines that we're going to see on the other side. And maybe some instructions manuals. So there's a political cartoon by Theodore Geisel, who's Dr. Seuss, and he actually did a whole bunch of political satire cartoons, especially during World War II. So the clipped cartoon that we saw in the tower itself is actually a 1939 Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact between Nazi Germany and the USSR, which I was unable to find that exact image. But I did find, it was hard to find one that was like appropriate to show here. So I found one that was like okay to show, because these were scathing political satire, and it says it's smart to shop at Adolph's, all victories guaranteed, and it's actually being pulled by Lindbergh. If you don't know, Charles Lindbergh, who not only was the first like transatlantic flight, but later he was a huge advocate for the U.S. not joining the war and trying to keep them out of it, even after Pearl Harbor, which then of course made everybody be like, dude, whose side are you on here? And that's what this is depicting here, is like, we're not really sure what your intentions are here, Charles Lindbergh. So anyway, that's what we see in that corkboard back there. Again, it's really hard to see and it's really far back there, but it's mostly just things that are storytelling for this particular area. Moving on to the shelves that are in the center. So in the shelves in the center, on the upper shelf, we see one of those Chinese water buckets like we saw in the library is on the left-hand side. So there's a repeat there for what we've already seen before. There's a fan, there's rugs, maybe a Chinese globe, it looks like, and a wastebasket is on the side as well. The middle shelf has a whole bunch of clocks that are actually stopped at 8:05, which I thought was really interesting. So you can see their time here, that their hands are all stopped at the time that the lightning hit the tower, which 8 plus 5 equals 13. But our theory was always that if they were electrical, that's the ones that stopped and the other ones ran down. So it's kind of interesting because these ones don't look like they would have been hardwired into anything, and yet they still say 8:05. There's a couple of radios on here as well, which we've talked about, a whole bunch of different radios in it. And as much as I want to look up every single radio here, I'm going to spare you guys just because we just don't have time to go over every single one here. But we have talked about radios being tied back to the Twilight Zone with a guy who got lost, was listening to an antique radio and then went back in time and whatnot. So the radios are definitely tied into all of the storytelling here. And then there's something really interesting that is behind the radios, which is, ironically, because Kirk's cat...
Yeah, what a coincidence.
Very vocal. There is a kind of creepy looking cat. Kirk, do you have some information about this cat?
I do. So a lot of us remember, the old style 30s through the 50s, like German or American style cat decorations, like old school Halloween decorations. And that's 100% what this is. The most popular of them was Bissell, which they made a lot of these designs. That actually is made out of paper mache. So I couldn't find the exact one of that, but I did find another one, which is just ludicrous. This is what my cat was basically looking like when he was meowing like crazy. But these are so fun. I think these are great, like old school decorations. I found another very creepy face, but kind of aligns a little bit more with that exact same aesthetic as the one that we see here in the tower.
Yeah, the kind of like grinning smile and the like pointy hat and all that. It definitely ties into all of the Halloween decor because it is that time of year. But it's interesting because this one's for sure in storage. Like he's not doing anything.
Yeah, they don't have it on display. But again, is more about a thematic of time, that this is October. Because when we leave and you go to the photo area, there's tons of Halloween decorations over there.
Right. Yeah. As you exit the tower, the displays on the outside are definitely talking about Halloween as well. So
it reminds me of my garage, right? Like I use 90% or 80% of my Halloween decorations, but there's always a couple left behind.
Yeah, it's true. I have probably used like 20% of my decorations. I really need to go through mine and get rid of some. Then on the bottom shelves, we see some vacuum cleaners, some crates, a rug, a chair on its side, an iron. Basically it's just junk. It's just like stuff that's broken, probably needs repairs. So it's down here. So waiting to be repaired or reused or repurposed in some way. Things that were pulled out of guest rooms that weren't working properly. And so that's basically all this is just a big storage area in the center here. Did you have anything about the vacuum cleaners or anything, Kirk?
The vacuum looks exactly like the scary one from Brave Little Toaster, and I'm horrified by that. I don't want to look at it anymore.
Sorry. Okay, we'll move on. Kirk's childhood trauma is coming through.
It's bad, dude. That movie messed me up.
Me too. It's terrifying. Mm-hmm. And then I still watch it. It's like a movie. So, okay. Anyway, let's move over to the left-hand side. Now that song is in my head. Sorry, I'm scared. There is a ladder too, also leaning against the side of this area. And then we head on over to the left side, which is basically a workbench. This is like a place that they're going to repair stuff, fix things, all those kind of stuff. That's the storytelling here. And on the workbench, we see like a vise. We see a bunch of tools. There's a manual screwdriver. I asked my dad about the other things that are on here just because he's a mechanic or has been a mechanic in the past. And he said it looks like a drill. He said, I see there is a chuck with gear teeth on the left side tip where a drill bit would be inserted. And then you use a chuck key to mesh with the teeth to tighten or loosen. He says on the right, it looks like there would have been a wooden rod slipped through the holes to allow the operator to hold on tight as that motor looks high torque. So if that means anything to those of you who use power tools, congratulations, there you are. That's all I got there. And then there is a tool box behind it. There's a tool belt hanging on the drawer. There's an oil can in the back. There is that souvenir from the 1939 World's Fair, which we already talked about. An oil lamp that's missing kind of the top of it. And then there's also pliers and a flashlight that are over on the side. The shelves themselves there's a lot of jars full of various items. And I do have kind of a fun story about the jars. Apparently somebody who was working on the tower left their jar of like pickles or pickled sausages there presumably for their lunch or their dinner. And they accidentally glued it down and it's been there ever since. So, keep a lookout for that one. I couldn't find it exactly. I'm like, it could be any number of these jars. Like, then there is a mug, some turpentine, some cleaners, some light bulbs, and then there's Anderson paint up on the top there. And so I was looking at that. I said, it's probably lead paint because it's 1939. Yeah. And so I found this really fantastic lead paint ad from 1939 that says, I hope the lead I'm mining will be used in your paint. And it's an actual like miner. And so it goes on and on about how you really, really want lead paint in your home, which we all know is very toxic and dangerous now. And it says,
only if you eat it, kids.
It says, your money ahead when you paint with white lead. And it says, lead is a metal that handles a lot of tough jobs. You know that. You know how it stands up against time and weather. Well, paint has to stand up against such punishment too. So it's only natural that good paint is made from lead. And that's a fact. White lead is what they call it. It isn't the metal, of course, but white lead is made straight from pure metal lead. You can't use any other metal for making paint and get the same result. And it goes on and on about the wonders of lead paint.
That's just my idea. You can find out the same thing from any painter who knows this business.
Yeah, right? So
it's the gospel truth.
Isn't that fantastic?
That's fantastic.
So there's also more paint in the drawers below as well. And then there's these like jars on the right side. They're red here, but it's called Fix All. And I did look up that and it's like a rubber patching compound essentially that can repair anything that you need to repair. I think of it like duct tape, but like in rubber cement form.
It's like it's Flex Seal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We could patch up a boat with that thing.
There's a few different types of crates also as if they have repurposed them from other things. So one of my favorite crates is actually up in the corner. You know how I love crates, Kirk. I'm a big crate gal.
Crazy.
But the one that's up in the corner is actually this one that's from Mellow Ripe Banana Company from New Toronto, Ontario, and is banana box. This has returned to warehouse promptly. So you can see it way up here in the upper right corner is this Mellow Ripe Banana. So I looked this up because I was like, what is Mellow Ripe Banana? It says home of Canada's largest banana importing organization. You can see all the Mellow Ripe trucks here ready to go to deliver all those bananas across town. It was founded in 1924 by Carmine Pirotoscia, who traveled the Toronto streets selling bananas from horse-drawn wagons and then later, of course, trucks. And then I was like, I just went down a fun rabbit trail with this and I found a book that's called Bananas, How to Serve Them. So this is like a recipe book from 1940 from the Mellow Ripe Fruit Company. that teaches you all about the wonders of bananas. So it says suit the color to the use. So if it's like tipped with green, it's going to be like slightly tart and tangy, and it has lots of flavor. And then it says all yellow, now it's ready to eat or cook, or it can be made in as an ingredient in baking. And if it's flecked with brown, now it's fully ripe for eating, and you could feed it to your infant, and as a sweet, mellow flavor and all those kinds of things. So it's teaching you about when to various forms of the banana's ripening period and when to use it. And I love,
if it's brown, drink it down. If it's black, send it back. Classic Homer Simpson.
It says 3 times a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. The work of planning meals goes on. Meals for husbands, meals for children, meals for guests. Here's a book to help you. It brings you new recipes. It's tested with a thought of for your time, an eye on your budget. It brings you new menus, simple, nutritious, easy to prepare. And we believe as you turn the pages of the book, you'll want to go right into action to try these new different ways to enjoy bananas. Let's go.
I love it.
It's got like a Mr. Peanut banana with like a monocle and a top hat.
That's a great character. I love that. He's so fun.
So I did look up like some of the recipes that I was trying to figure out. This one's like baked bananas, and it's telling you with cranberries or brown sugar or molasses, and it's showing these wonderful pictures of you basting your bananas.
He's great. He's so fun.
I'm like, this is a great piece of like advertising for this company. Like, show you eat more bananas. This is what.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just thought that was kind of a fun rabbit trail to go down.
Can I share my favorite banana thing in Disney?
Yes, you can.
It's at Typhoon Lagoon. It's Crush and Gusher has the banana blaster, but it has some great billboards. One of them is the Tropical Amity Fruit Exporters, your friends from the tropics. And so it's supposed to be, you can notice the way that it's like shifted. It says calamity, even though it's tropical amity, it's like calamity. But then when you're actually in the line itself, they have a bunch of boxes for bananas and whatnot, but there's a whole banana plantation. Like they grow bananas in the actual queue, which is cool. And it's like, know your produce. And there's a bunch of banana plants and Chiquita banana. And then there's a bunch more, but I digress for another time.
I love it. I've read a whole bunch of the history behind the design of Typhoon Lagoon, and
it's cool.
It's so detailed. Like I'm not a huge water park gal. I've been there once because that's as often as I wanted to go, but the storytelling is fantastic in that park. Mm-hmm. So even if you don't swim, it's worth going to the park just to explore the storytelling there because they did a great job.
It's kind of hard not to enjoy it when it's free. Because if you're staying on property, you still get it for free. So why not go check out Typhoon Lagoon? There's a lot of history there.
On the day you check in.
Mm-hmm.
Up on the shelf, there's actually a stack of magazines, if you can see them, the second shelf up there, or like books. And these are Popular Mechanics magazines. I found this one from January of 1939, which is basically like a how-to guide for a range of do-it-yourself projects if you're not familiar with Popular Mechanics. It also showcased futuristic technology like early concepts for rocketry and space exploration, and featured a classified section filled with money-making opportunities. So the magazine's main purpose was to explain how things worked in plain language, with its content geared toward a general audience interested in mechanics, science, and practice skills. So this is also where they would talk about new inventions, things that are being created and things like that. In this particular issue, there is a breakfast nook house and a kitchen cabinet, which I thought was...
Oh, that's ingenious.
Isn't it neat? Like, that's brilliant because you can just like pull them out like drawers and then they can sit there and have breakfast. So small spaces, that would work really well. So they can teach you different projects and whatnot and new things. And this was interesting because this is just a nice snapshot from 1939. It says setting up type with a typewriter keyboard. Another one was electric heart pumps blood through mechanical lung. And then pink and blue potatoes taste just the same. So they were experimenting with different colored potatoes. And then this one is how faces are made to order for the movies. So it talks about how they're going to make all these different masks and things for cinema at that time, which I thought was really fascinating.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So it wasn't just like, how to do basic repairs on stuff. It was really like anything that was innovative it was in popular mechanics. And so it would make sense that they would have a stack there for somebody who's very mechanically inclined. That really is pretty much what we see in that area is all of that.
The only thing I have to add, because people have asked me this multiple times, especially when I'm in Tower, is you notice there's all those cobwebs. Well, if you want to do the cobwebs, remember, it's just hot glue and compressed air, and you can buy yourself your very own, although Imagineers created their own, the Webcaster gun. I believe you can get these on Amazon, but they're about $50, and they're glue sticks, and you hook it up to an air compressor, and you can shoot your own webs. And they do have to redo these from time to time, because guess what actually gets caught in it? Lots of dead skin cells. Wonderful how humans shed.
I'll get out my microscope.
It's dust on shelves?
They would have a lot of things to explore in the tower if they wanted to.
Paint dry?
Obviously, we didn't go over every tiny little detail, which is bothering me to no end, but that is what we needed to do to get past this area so that we could actually make it out of the tower. So next time we're going to do the, like, where they would sell the photos, and then the exit area through the gift shop, and then outside. So we're actually our goal on the next time we do the Tower of Terror is to get out of the tower. However, next week, we have a special bonus episode that is just taking a quick break from the tower because Halloween is coming and we miss the Haunted Mansion. So we are going to head back to the Haunted Mansion for some stories we've never shared before that are more obscure. So get ready for that, kids. Get excited because that's where we're headed next week.
Can I admit something? I got on the Skyliner and it was already filled. There was like 7 people in there and I was a solo, so they had to stuff me in there. I improperly quoted the Haunted Mansion purposefully for a joke. I said, but there's room for one more. And everyone laughed, but it's so funny. Like, that's like literally a phrase. And it's like, that's never happened. That's not even close to the actual phrase.
No, there's room for it.
But people love it. People love it every time they think Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, and I am really excited for that episode because since our Haunted Mansion series was like way back in season 1, and it was like what we did after our crazy Pirates of the Caribbean episode where we tried to do everything in one episode, which is nuts.
Stupid.
But then we learned to go at a slower pace, and so our Haunted Mansion series was like 16 episodes long. But even since then, I've learned so much more about the mansion we didn't cover. So very excited to go back there and discover that. That pretty much wraps up this episode. Kirk, do you have any final thoughts here?
No, I'm looking forward to going to the Haunted Mansion for just a week. I need a vacation. I love the tower. I was in the tower just this past week, like uttering ridiculous things. And I made a couple of fun, just like snippets of what I thought were some of my favorite fun facts to make a historical video for TikTok. But yeah, I need to be in the mansion for a hot second. And then we'll come back to tower.
Yeah, I just miss it. I feel like we just have to make regular stops back in the mansion because that's just it's so important to both of us. So it's silly that we're not going back there more often. Like, let's just do it.
It's okay. We'll do it next week.
Okay. Sounds great. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us for this episode of Distory. We hope you enjoyed exploring the exit area of the Tower of Terror. And next time we're going to head on over to the Haunted Mansion. So get ready, foolish mortals, for that. But we'll see you next time. Appreciate you guys being with us.